Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our episode of Tiger Talk, brought to you by KLSU News. My name is Kierra Evans, News Director, and today I have the pleasure of hosting LSU's own Jordan Pittman. Tell me about your organization and what you all do.
All right, so Kierra, my name is Jordan Pittman. Thank you so much for introducing me. I'm the Director of Institutional Engagement and Partnership here at LSU. I work for the Division of Engagement, Civil Rights, and Title IX. And one of the amazing, components and kind of key areas for my division is bringing together campus partners, community partners, and just finding ways for students, staff, faculty, and everybody within the LSU community to get involved and overall help further student success, academic success, and all of the other really amazing programs and initiatives that LSU has available on its campus. So I'm here today to represent one of those amazing initiatives being the First and Forward Network. And so the First and Forward Network is actually a national network sponsored by NASPA, which is the National Association of Student Affairs Professionals. And so with that being the case, we've joined NASPA's First and Forward Network Committee, and we are now a part of a network of almost 140 institutions where we have a national claim and signal that we're here to support first-generation student success within our local campus community. So I'm here to talk about the First and Forward Network today.
Awesome. And this week is First Generation College Student Week. Is that what that is?
It is. So typically the first week of November, just the week leading up to November 8th, actually, has been coined nationally as National First Gen Celebration Week. And that's because November 8th is National First Gen Celebration Day. So LSU would join hundreds of universities actually this year and host almost 17 programs actually where we will be supporting, inspiring, celebrating, and bringing awareness to first-generation college students.
That is awesome. I mean, as a first-generation college student myself, I love events like these. I do. So who exactly qualifies as a first-gen student?
That's a really great question. And I think it's one that always kind of causes a lot of confusion, right, in conversation. But nonetheless, in I want to say around 2023 or 2024, LSU has actually standardized our definition of what a first-generation student is. And so with that being the case, a first-gen student is any student whose parent or guardian did not complete a 4-year degree from an institution within the United States, or a student who didn't report the educational background of their parent or guardian. One of the really important components I'll say about knowing the first-gen definition is that first-gen is actually self-reported. I don't know if a lot of students or even a lot of people realize that. So you actually report your first-generation status at the time that you enroll or at the time that you fill out your application. So it's one of those things that we kind of try to keep a track on as students either elect themselves to be first generation, or for those students who did not realize they were first gen at the time that you applied to college, and figuring out ways that we can go back and still ensure that all first gen students are aware of the resources, aware of the definition, and that you tap into these opportunities.
Awesome. So that would mean that a lot of students whose parents are immigrants would be considered first-generation students as well.
Yes, correct. If their students or if their parents did not obtain their bachelor's degree from a 4-year institution within the United States at that time, then yes. And I'm actually glad you brought that up because another thing to know is that the first gen, I'll say, identity or tag is truly generational. So you would still be considered first gen even if your siblings, for example, went to college, right? And a lot of students don't realize that. So once again, it's truly generational. So it's if that parent or guardian or that generation before you did not obtain their 4-year degree from an institution within the United States, then you would still be considered first gen college.
Oh, so Jordan, can I ask, are you a first-gen student yourself?
I'm glad you asked. So I am actually not a first-gen college grad. However, another really, I think, interesting thing about the first-generation identity and some of the experiences that first-generation students experience is that it truly is transferable. And so I myself was not a first-generation college grad, but I was a first-generation law student and a first-generation law grad, right? And so once again, it was an opportunity to create a new, I'll say, generational opportunity, right, for my family. And being the first person in my family to do that, once again, a lot of the same experiences where you may feel a little, I'll say, sorry, there's going to be a moment where I might need
Go ahead.
opportunities, or I'll say moments when you don't necessarily feel as though you're prepared, right, for the classroom, or feeling as if you don't necessarily have the linguistic ease to have conversations with people from industry or professors, faculty, or even classmates sometimes. Those were the same barriers that I myself still experienced while being in law school. Another thing that first-generation college students commonly face is anxiety, right? A lot of pressure from family to perform, to choose the degree that they want you to choose, or to have the career and the life that they want you to have. And then also, too, that sense of imposter syndrome, right, where you feel like I don't deserve to be here. And so a lot of those experiences that are common to first-generation college students, you will see show up in people who are still the first in their family or the first person in their generation, right, to truly take on these new opportunities. So even if you aren't a first-generation college student, I still think there's great opportunities to learn, educate yourself, build your sense of self-resilience, right? Build a sense of self-pride, and to just join in the community of celebration throughout this week.
Awesome. Well, it is First Gen Week. What events can we look forward to this week?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we have about 17 events happening starting on Monday, and they actually kind of roll all the way through Friday, might even lead up to the big game. I know there's a big game on Saturday.
There is.
However, we have events ranging from self-care, right? We'll have some events related to financial management. 3 of our signature events are actually coming from the committee host ourselves. And so myself, along with my division, will be hosting Gen to Gen discussions, which is a kind of like a play on speed dating, but it's meant to be an opportunity to create meaningful conversations and knowledge share from one generation of LSU first generation Tigers, legends, and alums to the next generation, which would be our current students. And so that event will be taking place on Thursday at the Barnes Ogden Art and Design Gallery. It's Thursday, November 6th from 2:30 to 4:30. Another event that I'm really excited about, and it's also one of our signature events, is our, I'll say, annual First Gen celebration dinner, which comes out of the Olin Career Center, Student Affairs still, but it comes out of the Olin Career Center. And so that will be hosted by our Career Center friends. And so every year they have hosted a celebration dinner where they combine employers and some of the community's first generation students, and together they bring you all and allow you to have a great evening of food and knowledge share and information share and just resource share. So yeah.
Awesome. That's so exciting. So what resources exist for first generation students on campus currently?
There's tons of resources available for first gen students. And I think just going through this process and being a part of the First Gen Forward team, I've learned about more resources, right? And so we already have the TRIO programs, which, if you aren't familiar, the TRIO programs are a federally funded grant initiative. And so here on campus, we have the Student Support Services, which is actually directed by Shauna Landry. And so that's a great program for first-generation students to kind of learn more about and see if you even qualify for that program and if that's something that you want to kind of gain more familiarity with. Outside of that, we have the First Gen Mentorship Program, which comes through the Career Center, our friends at the Career Center as well. And I want to say that the applications for that program will launch later on this month in November, but you can find out more information about that program on our website or even at the Career Center website. One of the really cool resources that I think is just a great way to really like top off your time here at LSU is the First Gen Graduation Cord. A lot of students may not be aware that that's even available, but that also comes out of the Career Center as well. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to kind of signal and signify the accomplishments of first generation students by being able to represent what you've done and what you've accomplished at graduation.
Well, you kind of went over this before, but what are some long-term goals of your program?
Ultimately, the long-term goals are just to build a sense of celebration, awareness, understanding, and pride in our first-generation students. The first-gen distinction, I think, is one that touches so many people because, as I mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily have to show up in your immediate undergrad college experience. At some point, hopefully, we'll all be the first in our families and in our friend group to do something, right? And so the overall goal of being a part of the First Gen Forward Network is just to continue supporting student success, to continue supporting first-generation students' success, and to continue turning first-gen stories into Tiger legends.
Awesome. I love that answer. Yes. So, what's one message you'd want every first-gen student listening to this podcast to know?
Just be proud, right? And being the first, and understanding that your journey may not be easy and your journey may not look like the next person's, but it's still your journey and it's still going to be great. And also, too, just tap into your community and tap into the resources that are available here at LSU. There are so many people who are excited, dedicated, and just willing to support students in all capacities. And so if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you need a resource, if you need help, community, reach out. You can reach out to myself. Once again, I'm available, like I said, Jordan Pittman, and I'll give you my email address, but my email address is jpittman2@lsu.edu. Also, to go to our website. One of the best ways to find the LSU First Gen website is to go directly to Google and type in LSU First Gen. I promise will be the very first click, right? And we're right there. So if you ever need to get in contact with someone, find some resources, figure out a way to land a mentor, right? Land an internship, find a student club organization to get involved in, we're here.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Your insight was very much appreciated. And as for students, make sure you attend all of our first-generation college student events happening this week on your campus. For 91.1 KLSU, I'm Kierra Evans, and this was Tiger Talk.